Hey everyone, mindlessbile here, and we're back for episode 16 of No Man's Sky. We're now going to start calling these episodes guide entries as opposed to obvious episodes since of the No Man's Sky Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy theme that I'm going for here. And I kind of wanted to forego my usual intro here since I finally caught one of my favorite two intro tunes at the beginning of the game here on record finally, and I wanted to share it with you. This is one of the two beginnings that always gets me pumped to get in and to explore the universe. Now, it's been a couple of days since I've made any videos. I think it's probably been 3 or 4 or 5 days maybe. It's been a hard week, and I couldn't quite find all the creatures on this planet. I even left 2 behind in question marks. I could not find any of the 2 species. I think they might have been in bodies of waters, because the last creature I found was a fish in a very rare body of water on this rather hot and hostile planet. But I wasn't able to find all the creatures, so we had to move on, and I started to make this video today, trying to finally get something out. Now, the planet is a very scorching hot kind of planet. During the night, it's not hot. It doesn't, hurt your hazard suit any, but during the day in the sun, your suit goes down pretty damn fast, as well as the fact very frequent storms, which are pretty intense with the hot sparks flying through the sky all the time and everything else. Now, it gives us our thing here telling us all the stats in the planet, and it says there's almost, non-existent flora and very scarce fauna, but once again, I found that very contradictory. Right off the bat, I started finding things, and hostile things. I was very excited here to find my first dinosaur in No Man's Sky. I found several dinosaur-ish creatures, and creatures with dinosaur-like appendages and parts and fins and such, but never have I found the true dinosaur. We got ourselves a nice theropod over here that looks very similar to a Parasaurolophus, which is usually a very friendly kind of plant-eating, half-aquatic, half-land animal. But I gave him the name of Gorosaurus. It took me a long time to come up with the name of the species, and yes, I know I put B first because I believe the other one to be the male. And I couldn't come up with a good name, so I finally came up with the name Gorosaurus after one of Godzilla's allies, actually, not one of his enemies. Gorosaurus started off in the film King Kong Escapes, which came out shortly after King Kong vs. Godzilla, while Toho still had the rights to King Kong, and they made another film. And then he fights another monster on his new island called Gorosaurus, who has a very long tail and is capable of bouncing back onto the tail and kicking out like a kangaroo-style kick, being his main attack. No type of beam weapons or thermonuclear attacks for Gorosaurus. But he eventually comes back and helps Godzilla defeat King Ghidorah with a whole slew of other monsters and destroy all monsters. The planet was a rocky wasteland, but the geological formations and all the tall arches and things that you can climb on and how high you can get up was a hell of a lot of fun. Using the jetpack was pretty paramount in this planet for navigation and just for getting around quickly, because constantly faced with kind of different obstacles. The next creature I found was the Brim Deer, and I really like the name I came up with him. I was going to call him the Grim Deer, but I went with the Brim Deer after all, and I really like it. It sounds like an actual natural kind of name. And another kind of deer gazelle animal that we find, a prey species, which we see the Gorosaurus and the other theropod attacking all the time. This next one was another one I missed the name, but I wanted to call him the Dragon Swallow. The sun sets in the variety of colors on this planet along the horizon was almost like a rainbow from red to orange to yellow, plus the dark cools. Oh, this is a good shot here. It was almost like something from Mercenaries 2 with sticking the grenades under the jeeps, only with a Gorosaurus. Next, we got another kind of pack beast, a pachyderm. I named him the Gloxel. Very kind of flamboyant looking male creature with stegosaurus spines and large horns. And we have the female variant, who also has horns, but has that strange kind of mineral coral looking pattern on its back that we see on a lot of species. And again, we had another type of mantis crab. I called him the Grand Opix. I accidentally didn't name him, but I did name the female counterpart. So we had overall 3 hostile species, 2 of them being large theropod-style dinosaurs and our usual crab enemies, which made for a pretty hostile planet along with the weather conditions. The caves, I didn't really find much else in the caves. There could have been other creatures down there. I explored the caves for hours. Once again, the usual kind of cave setup, just different colors, so I didn't really feature them here. But I found nothing other than the Grand Opix in the caves. Now here's this huge chunk of emerald I found. I mined the whole entire thing. And it netted me enough money to buy a new ship. I finally got me a sleek little fighter craft again, only with the same amount of inventory slots as my Kushikus has. Welcome to my Guarana. Once again, another great sunset shot of the rainbow kind of effect of this planet and its atmosphere. Or just from the heat, I don't know what the effect is from. Now this little guy was a pain. I'm going to show you here in the videos. He was so tiny. This little tiny jellyfish. I forgot to name him. I hit the button and screwed up, but I didn't have a name for it anyways. But these guys were so tiny, I could not scan them just like the birds, and when I try to attack them, though I was capable of hitting them and doing them damage, huge amounts of damage for what it looks like the spray of green blood that comes out such a tiny little jellyfish. But I just could not kill him, and I could not scan him until later on in the game. Here you can see I finally managed to scan this creature. And once again, like I said, I forgot to screw up the name for him. I was thinking of Lady of Peace, kind of a contradiction to the Portuguese man-o'-war, which is a very large jellyfish. And we got another woozle. We got an Illuma woozle. I called him the Illuma woozle because the male of the species seems to have bioluminescence on his nose. I noticed him on my first night, on my first landing. And here we got the mate, the Illuma woozle B, who has almost kind of a predator dreadlock thing kind of going on the back. And she helped me find some stuff. This is the fish I was talking about, the paddlefin. Very classic kind of No Man's Sky, over-exaggeratory fish. And I found this huge body of water out in the middle of nowhere. I found a couple puddles, a couple slight streams, maybe river things, but no real life in it. But I come down to this large body of water, and over here to the right, I actually start to see some red dots. I really wanted to find more bodies of water, but I couldn't find anything that had life other than this one pond. So like I said, I don't know what happened to those poor two other species. Hopefully if somebody once comes and explores Brimstone, they'll be able to find them for me. And I will note that not being able to wade on the top of the water is kind of an obnoxious thing. But like I said, I've never found a planet yet that had bodies of water that wasn't an ocean planet. And I've seen the things on Reddit that it was obviously there, but this is my first experience with finally finding a planet that has lakes or ponds, whatever you would call this. Here's a little shot I put in just to kind of show the abundancy of life, even during a very harsh kind of storm. I mean, there's just stuff walking around all over the place. Next we got the Magmadon, one of those species which are so much different from the other. We got the classic kind of pyramid head, which actually seems to have an opening on the bottom for speech. I don't know if I never noticed that before or it's new. And then we have I really like this one better than the other one just because I've seen a lot of the pyramid heads. But he's a neat with his kind of shell, his fluffy kind of tail, and his crazy head. Now we have the Napoleonyx. I named him after his goofy little hat, kind of being like Napoleon, plus the actual dinosaur named the Baryonyx, which is very similar with the long, grasping, prehensile hands and the almost alligator mouth. He was kind of a swamp species that catched fish with his oversized teeth, which were perfect for scooping up fish. And we got his mate, the Napoleonyx B, which is more like a ceratosaur with his just single nose spike. And there was a ton of these. You know, I had a ton of footage. I wanted to show how much these guys were attacking me and constantly running me down as well as their young, but I didn't really. The video was already getting long with all the other footage and views. And always it's amazing to see the planet when you're on the moon and to get to see the other planet Eros behind it. And I said I had a lot of fun on this planet, jumping around back and forth, dealing with the hostile life forms and the storm conditions. May seem like a barren, bleak hellhole, but I really had a hell of a blast here. And like I said, I put about 15 hours all week trying to find this and still didn't find all that there was to find, still leaving behind tomb species. It's hard for me to do Hitchhikers. But it's about all we have for episode 16. So stick your thumb out and subscribe if you want to hitch a ride with me, Mindless Bile, to the center of the galaxy.